How you doing, everybody? Welcome and thanks for stopping by and joining us today for another Rolling Over the Hill right here on the Live to Roll channel. I'd like to give a shout out and thank our sponsors, mobility professionals and urology professionals. As we say every week, man, they're a great and helpful group of experts that are part of our community. So a big thanks to all of them. Today's show topic is aging, the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll be talking primarily about the good news and the not so good news of aging with SCI. As always, please make sure to include your questions, comments, and views in the chat. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Soto. I'm a T12 spinal cord injury from a motorcycle racing accident almost 50 years ago. And now let's say we get started and welcome my co-host, Bobby. Luis may be joining us later on in the show. What's going on, Bobby?
Oh, not much, Rob. Thanks for the nice introduction, starting our show off as well as you do. My name is Bobby Rohan. I'm a C5-6 quadriplegic of 34 and a half something years. And yeah, great topic today. We call the show Rolling Over the Hill, and we hit on it a lot of times. And we didn't talk about it too much at our last show. We had a great guest with Frank the Tank. So if you haven't seen that episode of a C5-6 quad doing rock climbing or rock crawling, that's what it is? Rock
Yeah.
crawling with
Yep.
his feet. Excellent episode. But today we're talking about pure aging with a disability. And, I think this can relate to just about anybody, those who are aging, especially those who are in that 10-year area to 20-year. I think this might hit where they can understand it. The first 10 years, you're still figuring yourself out, but some of these problems are going to come along, or if not, they've already started. And it's all depending on when your injury was. If you have an injury at what, Robert, 45, the aging is
Yeah.
right around the corner. But if you have your accident like we did, you were
Yeah.
21,
I was 19, a few weeks before my
19.
20th birthday. 19.
Yeah, 19, and I was 17. And so, I mean, the first 10 years is, for me, it was, I'd say 2 years of trying to figure it out, 10
Yeah.
years, 15 years of holy cow, excuse my French, balls to the wall of having fun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, a little bit of, spinal cord stuff here and there, but uh, nothing with that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I know. For me, because the youth, you being 17, me being 19, 20, I was still in the party mode and got it somewhat together. I thought, and just was doing teenage stuff, young adult stuff, and partying was a big part. But I was still obviously going to school and got back in it and working and things like that, which meant something to me because I needed to make money rather than try to do the SSI stuff because that just wasn't going to work for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I really think it's so hard. We always talk about the getting hurt younger and getting hurt later in life, but I think all in all, when it gets down to it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in terms of the good, as we age or the aging part, is the experience that you get, uh, where you're at in terms of your health. It just depends on your level of injury, just your overall health, because you got to remember that you're aging and you have the normal aging ailments. We get high blood pressure, cholesterol, and all that kind of stuff. You get arthritis and stuff like that. But um, the the thing that I'm looking at for nowadays is it's been good. I'm not trying to make, like, we don't want it to be a downer show. We just want to kind of
No.
forewarn you, just be ready. So, like, yeah, for me, I've always been a positive person, and like I said, I have my ups and downs, but for the most part, I keep positive. I pull myself out of those down spots, and I think that is what one of the good sides, because of all these years that we put into it now, you kind of have a better idea. The unknown for me now is the aging piece, the regular ailments, and the shoulders getting tired, and we can go through the whole list, and everyone's going to be able to relate somewhere in that list, because as you get older, really don't know what to expect. But for me, bring it on. I'll deal with it. I'll complain, but I'll deal with it, and I'll get through it. And I think that's what over the years what happens.
And I think luckily for you and I, we've been blessed with a good financial stabilization with
Yeah, that helps.
working for as many years as we did, and I had a great job putting into a 401k. I think you did, and
Yeah, yeah,
luckily I teamed up with a great work ethic wife as well. So we combined that together. That helped a lot. So it makes things a little bit easier than some others out there that have maybe struggled when still they live on Social Security, SSI or SSDI, and they're in the Medicaid or Medicare situation. That can
yeah.
be a little bit rougher stage than some. Not all. I mean, others are happy and content where they're at, but it is a worrisome as you're getting older.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. The financial thing uh, impacts, one way or another. But
Mhm.
I do feel blessed with that. The thing too is just your attitude. Your, if you have that positive attitude, that can do attitude, or I got this, that's really what you need, and that's what's going to make. I think that's going to make the world of difference as you age and you know start having more shoulder issues, more skin problems, more longer bowel program. I mean, there's a lot, and it's nothing that's necessarily bad. It's just a change, and if you can't accept change, it's going to be rough. And if you
Yeah,
can, and be positive and have a positive outlook, use distractions, whatever. It's all about the quality that you make it.
absolutely. And um, having that mindset to start with and not think that the world is over is the biggest thing.
Yeah,
I've started over so many times, Bob, that I should have given up so many times. But
yeah,
every
yeah,
time I've gone through, pneumonia twice, um, a bad urosepsis, UTI, um, uh, what was I
well,
going to say? Oh, my heart condition,
yeah,
and a couple other things. So, yeah, it's just um, I should have given up. But I'm going to tell you. So, there's one thing that we have good for ourselves is the good. What do we have good? You know what it is? It's the control of ourselves, right? You think about it. So, importance of what you can control within. So, one important thing is movement, right? We talk about movement. So, moving that body, and I don't care what it is. And when you're exercising, and when I say exercising, you don't have to go out there and do a 10K and train like a marathon person. It's all about finding an exercise program that works for you. And it can be little weight, and that will make the world of difference. Even if you get some bands from home and just
yeah,
doing some minor stretching and movement. Movement is so important for our body and will reduce the pain that we talk about. Um, that is in our control, and you can control that. How do you can control that? You don't be lazy, right?
yeah,
That's what it comes
yeah,
down to. And this world today that we're in with the YouTube, you can find so many different avenues of working out in a wheelchair. And then there's even ones you can join where you get your videos sent to you, like Zook Fitness. Great avenue to see, guys like um, uh, our Literal founder, Shawn Fluke. He's one of the trainers there, and you can
yeah,
work out with them. Then you can go on to joining live with other people on Zoom with staying driven fitness. There's a lot of them out there, and just movement is. is in our control. So that's the good. What else is good, Bob?
Well, I think what is good. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm all
I
about that. I'm not a
not
I'm not I'm getting
not
some feedback.
feedback.
Yeah, we're trying to get Lewis to join us,
Yeah,
but unfortunately, there's a lot of feedback. Let's see.
Luis.
Are you guys
Yeah,
getting a lot of feedback from me?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
yeah. It's
delay,
a lot of delay.
delay in
Okay.
feedback.
Delay in feedback. Let me see if I can turn the mic off.
Try it, Robert. Testing one, two,
You
three.
there? Testing 1 2 3. You got it?
Perfect. So
Okay.
we'll have Luis driving, and when he can chime in. So
Yeah,
we're
we'll
talking
get.
about the good part of aging with a disability
Yeah,
and what's in our control, because that's the good part. What can be within our control?
yeah,
And we talked about movement, just moving, getting out and doing things. It doesn't even have to be exercise. Doing a good hobby, a good maybe little workout from home, and also staying busy, like volunteering for a nonprofit or a
yes,
school. Those are good things that will keep you still very active within the community and with your mind, and not sit there and do the TV, all day long.
yeah. Well,
You have all night to do that.
yeah, and the physical piece of it is definitely a must, and you got to find out what works for you in terms of, like, for me, I'm not much of working out because I'm trying to preserve my shoulders for just my everyday activity and things that I need to do. But I think it's also a thing you got to work on is your mindset, being positive. You feel good about yourself. I like getting out and socializing in terms of, with what I do here. I go down to the beach and have some friends down there. We kind of hang out. So that's a big plus too. So, whatever you choose to do, you got to give it your best shot, but you got to be, you can't be that negative, and you got to sometimes overcome that lazy feeling, because that's easy. That's real easy. And there's no rules, so you can, do nothing if you want. But it's not. You need to get out and enjoy that sunshine. If it's sitting in your yard, strolling around your neighborhood, going visiting friends, working out or whatever, those things are all going to pay off in the long run in terms of your mindset. And again, if you feel good physically, you're going to feel good mentally. So those are, to me, those are big. Those are big things, because there's other things that we have to worry about more so. It's easier to talk about the bad because we have a list, and everyone's going to relate to that. There's not going to be one thing on there that somebody out there that they don't know about.
Yeah.
What we're talking about.
Another good is about what's in your control is your diet too.
Yeah.
As hard as it is, trust me, Robert, I think I've been on the bad side lately, and I don't know about you, Louise. I don't know if you're on the bad side of the eating part lately. I getting older, we enjoy our food, and we're like, yeah, exactly. And hey, I try to have my good vegetables, and I try to eat a decent. I do eat, a breakfast, meaning yogurt with grape nuts and some a banana or some fruit, or a protein drink with the frozen fruit, and blend that up. And then a lunch, a sensible lunch, and then dinner, man. I am starving lately, and I eat way more than I should for dinner. And I think it is some of it. It's a lot of working out, but within our control is our diet. I mean, it's okay to go and have a cheesesteak sandwich that I love to treat myself, or I go to this. My new hangout is it's called Board and Brew. It's a sandwich um, and brewery together. So they have some of the great sandwiches, and then they have their a bunch of beers on tap, and they kind of now know me, and it's kind of scary. He's like, "Hey, you want your same?" Yeah, and he goes, "Oh, hold on 1 second," and there's a low bar table, and there's always somebody there, and he's like, "Hey, out! I got my guy." I'm like, "Oh, God, okay, now this is scary that I'm a regular." Um, but that is within our control. I mean, I
Yeah.
know, Robert, we talk about diet a lot, right?
Yeah, I got to work on that. I've been saying that for years though. But another good thing that I think for myself, what I feel good about is finally realizing it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah,
um, and the needs that you have, because it makes everything so much easier. I was always stubborn. Oh, I don't need. I could pull it off. I could do this, and that's good to have that attitude. But like closing in on 70 years old, and it's okay, to ask for help when I need it. Before I never. That was like I don't know if I had a rule to my, self rule. Oh no, I don't need help. But and just the my needs, accepting my needs, me going from and into a wheelchair van. I mean, that was something I needed for probably a long time, but I kept fighting and fighting it. And, the shoulders helped me make the decision. But yeah, it's okay to adjust, for power assist, for your needs for vehicles or whatever, and
yeah,
just asking, hey, can you help me?
yeah.
That makes you feel good.
Well, and there's somebody else in the chat that and welcome everyone on the show. Quad Trials and Theories. What's up? He says, "What's up, guys?" We got Roy, and one thing that Roy said is, "Get up and get going."
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
except if it's Saturday or Sunday and you have the time to lay in bed. Especially my Sundays, I try not. As soon as football starts on at 10 o'clock, then I'm like, okay, I got to get up now. I love laying in bed a little bit later. It just feels good. And then Quad Trial said, "You guys ever try out hot flashes and feel like you're hitting man no pause?" I'm not sure what that means, but if it's the hot flashes, we're going to get into that, and that's some of
Yeah.
the ugly
Yeah.
side of it. I think we talked about a lot of good things. You're getting older, you're getting wiser, and you've made a lot of friends if you're reaching out in the community. The three of us were hanging out on Saturday, Louise, Robert, and I. Um, you know, those are the good. And like I said, Luis, who's driving, as you can see, he's coming back from volunteering and giving his time to a rehabilitation center in near his house for orthotics. And 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 I think yesterday you guys had the support group, or was that today, Robert?
The Wednesday, it was Wednesday. Yesterday was, yeah, was the perfect
Mhm.
step. And then the
Yeah.
CASA.
So it's out there getting up and get going, like Roy said. Um, and then Quattrell said Jersey Mike's. That's your sandwich place. That's a good sandwich. I do like theirs. Um, Bobby, the man. Robert, the man of action. Luis, the driving force. The driving force. So Luis, you're our driving force. Um, but the bad, right? We all have the bad, right? And along comes bad. So what's the bad? That's usually two main functions at the mid region of our areas, right? And also, I always say um, when I used to measure wheelchairs, they're like, "So where do we start?" I'm like, "Your hips. Start with the hips." And in that hip area is bowel and bladder, right?
Yep.
So that becomes the bad. So I mean, my bad started about 6 years ago when my stomach was just always gassy. My bowel program changed on me. And no matter what I did with my bowel program, if I did it every day, every other day, I tried the oh, Shawn, help me out what you're doing with Coloplast, pumping the water up and evacuating that way. And it worked great twice and then never worked again like the first two times. So the
Parasites.
Peristeen, yeah, thank you, Shawn. Um, and then finally, I just had to break down and do the colostomy. And I'll tell you, as bad as that, decision was, because I didn't want another attachment, it turned out to be the greatest thing I did. I mean, why didn't I do this a long time ago?
Yeah, yeah.
You
How many
know,
times do you say that? Why didn't I do this sooner or whatever, you know?
especially with that one, and you
Yeah.
know, it's got its bads, you know. And for the first time, it's never happened, but for the first time the other night, I lean forward to get into bed, and I go all the way down and pivot my butt out of my chair, and it blew. I'm like, what the? And so, okay, clean up on aisle five, but clean up on aisle five is way different than clean up on aisle one, meaning
Yeah,
it's all right here and it's contained. But when you crap your pants, it is so much harder, taking your
yeah.
pants off um, and it going all down your legs. I
Just
mean, sorry to be graphic, or taking off your shirt and it's up your back, or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
You know, and then it's your cushion. I
yeah,
mean, I was all controlled right here in this
yeah,
region and
yeah,
in my quad gut region, and so it was a little bit on the shorts and got to wipe it up right here on top to start with. So a lot of the big mess was already gone before I had to even take off my shirt and shorts. So that
yeah.
helped a lot. Yeah. So, and then, we have our UTIs, right? And Roy, I'm going to get into the broken bones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but UTIs, right? So, Bob, you can relate to this one.
I'm going through that situation now, and I just started seeing a urologist a few months back, and so we're going through the processes because I've been getting a lot of UTIs, and well, more than I've had in the past, and I've only been cathing about 10 years, 12 years maybe of my 50 years. I have some sensation, all that, but what's happening now is just the constant E. coli and the antibiotics, doing the 7 day stint on it. But it just, it'd be clear for the 7 days. I'd go 2, 3 days and it'd be done. I'd start all over again. I'd cloudiness and E. coli's back. So right now, I'm knock on wood. I'm doing okay. I happen to do some emergency room testing for some other things that might be related. We're not sure. Um, that they gave me intravenous uh, IV antibiotics. Gave me that one night, and then I had my antibiotics for 10 days. So that's all, and antibiotics screw with me big time. My
Oh,
stomach and all
it's
that.
true with everybody. Let me
Yeah,
ask you, Robert, do you take probiotics when you take your?
yeah. I've been taking probiotics for a long time. Right now, I just started taking to help is D-mannose and cranberry combo on a pill and methenamine. So right, knock on wood, like I said, it's going pretty good now. And I think a lot of it might have been that IV. That maybe that's something that I need when I do get it because it just wasn't going away. And
And
so
that
now,
one day dose, right?
yeah, and that got it kick-started. And then I went 10 days, but I had two antibiotics. One was Keflex and the other one was Di, I forget the name of it. But anyway, so, and that happened to work. So right now I'm just going through the process. We're checking out they're supposed to have urodynamics. I've never done any of this stuff. This is all new to me. And
Mhm.
again, is it part of the aging piece or is it, because you don't need a spinal cord injury to have urinary tract infections and prostate issues and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're kind of checking out now. And the prostate mostly was what I was worried about because my numbers are for you guys who know they don't know they take some blood work and all that and get some PSA counts. And you want normal is 4, but as you get older it changes and things like that. And if you have some other issues, it'll change. And so that's what we're kind of making sure on that. Um, but now the second problem is just trying to find the accessible examination tables at our urologist because I know we were talking about it a little bit earlier. I had to do this scoping out of my sitting in my wheelchair. That was like pretty brutal. So for me, that's new. And again, I was kind of pissed off about the whole thing, but I get over it and I'll deal with it. So uh, it's that's one of the things, and another one of the things that you got to be careful too when you get older. Something that's just not SCI, but your blood pressure issue, your cholesterol. if you have blood sugar, diabetes, and stuff like that, that all starts, compounding, and then you're
Mhm.
going to worry about skin. The skin thing is a big thing for me because I had a couple muscle flaps in my career as a SCI, and those will put you down.
Yeah.
I mean, big time. The first time I had it, I was down for I forget how long before it actually really healed completely. Thought I learned from that, and then I ended up years later. I ended up getting another one. So I've really learned having those two. So that's another thing that you just got to keep an eye on, and just
Yeah. The
just
skin
doing.
issue, yeah, because within aging is our skin actually gets thinner.
Yeah,
So that's one thing that we don't think about with aging with a disability a lot is that our skin gets thinner. And for
yeah,
those who are nicotine users, it's even worse because your skin integrity is, yeah, Luis,
yeah.
and we know he likes his, a couple of cigarettes here and there, but um, it's that
Well,
it can wear down a lot quicker.
yeah, well, the skin thing, but a lot of times too, when you're getting weaker and you do your transfer, you're dragging your butt, you're doing that shearing a little bit more. So you got to be
Yeah.
really careful on that because of the thinness. And my skin is pretty thin. There's no muscle there. I mean, there's just bone on my ass.
Yeah, and that's another thing because we lose our muscle mass even
Yeah,
more as we age. I mean, there's two types of guys, when they get older, they get thin as bolt. Like when you see an 80-year-old, they're really thin. It's hard for them to put on weight, or they got the big, heavy, gut and a
that's
big
me.
boy. You know, so you got and most of the time you're still thin on your butt. I mean, what is it? Men are apples, women are pears,
Yeah,
and being an apple, there's no muscle mass on our butt. And I mean, yeah, it's like if I drive, it's like every third time I'm doing my transfer back into my chair, it's like, and I got to go up and over. And some days it's like, God, oh,
yeah,
that tag the butt. Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
so
it,
it's
and it's
not.
good. And it's good to get in the habit of checking that skin in the morning and at night. For me, that's what I do. I just have a handheld mirror and just kind of give a quick look at, just to make sure. And
You like to
knock on
look.
wood, everything.
You like to look at your butt. That's
Yeah, yeah.
you.
I have to. I have
You
to. I
want
don't
to
want
see
to. I don't want
that.
another. I want another ulcer.
And I think Roy brought up a good one in ugly. It's having more broken bones.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm right with you, Roy. Uh, Ankle. The last time I had my broken bone was, well, 4 years. No, well, I broke my hip, so that was 2021. 2019, I broke my ankle. Um, and then I've broken both femurs. Um, let's
Yeah.
see,
I've had a,
broken both ankles and both femurs.
wow. I've had
So,
one femur. But yeah, because the osteoporosis, right?
yeah,
Now, do you get the
and
bone density tests?
yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but also the doctor's like, well, I mean, you can take all the calcium you want, but and what they say is within the first 6 months of your injury, it's already started.
Yeah.
It's already more advanced than like you're looking like a 60-year-old than a 20-year-old if you're in your
Yeah.
20s. And so, hey, so Robert, if we don't say anything, we won't get the feedback. But Luis, if you want to take you off speaker and tell us about your good and some of your bad, if you want to, I don't know, if you take yourself off, put your mic on, and if we don't say anything, we won't get feedback. But talk about your
But
good
talk
and
about
your
your. So my good and bad is exactly what you guys were talking about. That change in bowel and bladder with age. Um, I have to really be careful about not getting too constipated because of the amount of supplements that I take and my diet, because I try and adjust the constipation level that I carry in my bowel based on the food that I eat. Because I try not to take any laxatives or stool softeners and whatnot. Um, and then my biggest change is actually to my bladder, where for many, many years, Gates, I was able to not wear guards or a catheter or anything like that. And for about the last 8, 10 years, now, because my bladder has changed and I'm not able to um, go without a little bit of dribble at times. So wearing those guards helps me from dribbling in my pants or on the chair or on the cushion or things like that. And I probably go through a bag of 52 guards. I'm sorry, 2 bags in a month. So I wear the guards 24/7, whether I'm sleeping or I'm out about town going, someplace for Live to Roll or for Triumph Foundation. I wear those guards 24/7, and if I'm having a particularly bad day, then I also use a chuck or something like that when I'm in bed. I know some people, as they age, they urinate more often with age, and for me, um, there's a little more of that. I need to get up more at night, and if I don't, then I have an accident. So I wear the guard. If it's bad, I'll have a chuck that night and get up more frequently, you know, probably 2 or 3 times a night. Anyways, I'm going to mute this again and back to you guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Luis. I think this will work perfect if we just give you and
Yeah.
stay quiet. But Robert, we looked up this new mobility magazine, and I've said it before a couple weeks ago on our Live to Roll on Tuesday, but I find such great ideas of our topics from there. But in this article, Aging with a Disability, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and that's where we came up with our topic today. But there was some other, of bad, and this is stuff that, yeah, it's happening for me, but I didn't think of it as that way. One was sexual dysfunction. And I've noticed that with the medications that are out there, the Viagra's and stuff, they don't work as well. I don't have the sex drive as like I used to. I don't know, and they say that's pretty common with men, some men, not all, but um, but the medications don't work as well.
Yeah.
And it can be
Well,
really frustrating for those aging as well. You're already having problems just maintaining erection or having an
yeah.
erection, and then throw on top of aging, and then it's getting harder and harder. You're like, I don't want to have a heart attack taking 200 milligrams of Viagra or something,
Yeah.
just to have a thrill. Now, there we talk about when in our shows when we talk about sexuality, but sexual function too. Uh, there is foreplay, but when that drive is reduced a little, it can be tough.
You know,
Another,
and a lot
go
of
ahead.
the medications, any heart medications, things like that, are all affect that drive. And so
Yeah,
it's just like the pain pills. I mean, there's a lot of things. Okay, we all have pain. You know, it's either the pain pills aren't effective as they used to be, or the side effects you can't tolerate them anymore. So you don't take anything. But for me, I have to take blood pressure medication, things like that. All that's affected my sexual drive. You know,
yeah.
totally, totally.
hmm No, yeah, and same with me. And after having my heart complication earlier this year when fluid around my heart, and now I have something called AFib.
Yeah,
Luckily, it's not always happening, but uh, and it
you
hasn't
can.
happened, but my doctor says you have a chance to always get it now, and
Yeah,
that he says you've been on top of your medication, you exercise, you're doing great. And I asked him about, taking Viagra again. He goes, yeah, but I'm nervous. I'm scared.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
here's another thing that was brought up, aging caregivers. So, yeah, a lot of us have family members that are taking care of us, right? And I've heard this way more, and not just within the spinal cord injury community, but also a lot of mothers that have their kids or now grown up kids with special needs, right? So, because of my daughter, she has special needs. My wife made a lot of friends with mothers from Down syndrome kids, and they're getting older, and their kids are, not kids anymore. They're adults. They're in their 30s, and they're having, trouble taking care of them. And I imagine that's within our community itself too, with spinal cord, especially a lot of vent dependent and higher quads who have their mom and dad that they took care of them and they've lived with them for a long time, and that can be real scary to come across, that you've always had your parents helping you out and that's who you trust, but now they're aging so much. um,
yeah. That's a good one. That's a good.
if I was in that position right now, I'd be dealing with a dad that can remember 2 seconds ago, when now that he has dementia and Alzheimer's, and my mom who has Parkinson's and I think going through the same thing with some dementia. If I had them taking care of me, that would be really scary.
Yeah, and that's a big piece. Like for me, I'm trying to plan for the future as I get older, for caregiver, with my retirement funding and all that kind of stuff. I kind of have money set aside as I get older. I know it's getting a lot more expensive now for a caregiver, just like everything else prices going up out there, so is that. Before it was kind of affordable in a sense, but I know the cost is going up because I know some caregivers that are, you know, needing more money nowadays just because of their time as well, and they usually do what more than one patient lots of times. But also, what about the osteoporosis differences between the pairs and quads? Because I'm sure I have some osteoporosis, but I've stood up a lot of my SCI life, up until the last few months. I'm not really standing like I should be. I can still do it. I wear the braces and stuff, but it's I have to feel safe. I have to have that day of confidence because sometimes I just don't feel safe. And my shoulders have been doing okay. I still get sore and all that, but not as bad as it was when I was standing and all that. So I don't really want to go backwards on that because they're just starting to kind of feel good nowadays. And they get a little tired and all that, but um,
Yeah, I think we touched on it when Roy brought that up with breaking more bones, and that I think even now I something I didn't even think about until just now, but you know I lose my feeling right here, right at the just above the nipples, and during the pandemic, we had to get a rental car for my wife. For I think she was taking her car in and she needed it because at that time she was uh, doing Uber as a side gig because it was, blown up, and she was just like, "Yeah, well, let's make some money this way." And so sometimes I would drive her, but I had to work, so we dropped off the rental car on our way home. Car cut, made she had a red light arrow, and for some reason she made a left hand turn right in front of me, and we kind of avoided, but I still smacked her. It wasn't that bad. And then a couple days later, he kept having bad spasms, and something didn't feel right in this region. And it wasn't a hard hit. Airbags didn't go off, nothing happened. We just sideswiped more than anything.
yeah,
And it turned out I broke 2 ribs,
wow.
and it's just like, but I don't know if this region is weaker or depending on the way I twist it. But they're like, yeah, you have two broken ribs.
So
So
do you think there's a difference between the para and quad with osteoporosis, or is it just something
I
universal?
don't. I think a lot of times, with quads, we a lot of quads don't use their feet to transfer as much as paras. So
Yeah,
you think about that. Paras like automatically. When I see most paras, they're taking their feet off and hoop hoop off their footrest, and then they're going over, right?
yeah,
Well, there's a better. You use your legs a lot more than quads.
yeah,
Quads are just using that sheer of hoping the sliding board doesn't move on them,
yeah.
and it's all head and
The
this
technique.
guy.
It's all technique. Yeah,
Yeah, it's all technique, but really at the end of the day, you're still not walking, and I don't think there should be. I can't imagine there's a difference.
yeah. I don't think there is. I really don't. It's just because I mean, there's the able-bodied people. I mean, because they say we should be weight bearing and all that. That's what affects. But I mean, there's able-bodied people that are up on their feet every day and they have osteoporosis. So I really don't think there's a difference. It's just what it is.
Is,
Go ahead,
I,
Luis.
Go ahead, Luis. I wanted to add in here as well. Uh, Before I forget, you were mentioning caretakers. Some of us are at the point where just what you said, we had parents, um, spouses being our caretakers. Now we are becoming the caretakers of our parents. So imagine being disabled and you're now the caretaker for your parents or someone else that's was caretaking for you. Um, no names, but I have a really good friend out here, um, who's a very high level quad. I think he's a C3 complete, something like that. Doesn't move his arms, can't move his hands or anything like that. And he's approximately my age. So he's around early 60s. I'm 63. His mom is 88 years old. And now she's not able to take care of him anymore.
Yeah.
And she's so concerned about if she should pass away, what's going to become of him? Who takes care of him? How does the process work? You know, um, should he go into a nursing home? Because right now he lives at home, and now they have caretakers that come in and take care of both of them at the same time.
Wow.
You know, it, it's it's something else to see all that, and it's something that we as people with disabilities aging, we have to consider that. You know, what's happening with the caretaker. Yeah, there's a saying amongst the caretaking community that usually the caretaker dies before the patient does. Because the caretakers get worn out. Between the physical aspect and the emotional and mental aspect of the job, it's tough on caretakers, and we have to keep that in mind, especially when they're family and they can't just quit and you get a new caretaker. Or if your caretaker ages out, then you have to find a new one anyways. And just like you guys said, it's not cheap. Just pre-COVID, you could get a base caretaker for $10-15 an hour, and it's somebody who had a certification, maybe an LVN. Somebody like that was $25. All those prices have gone up $10-15 now. Now a base caretaker's 25-30 dollars an hour.
Hmm.
If you want somebody who has some nursing background, now you're looking at 40-50 dollars an hour. It's not cheap. It's getting more and more difficult for us to take care of ourselves, and as we age, take care of those that took care of us. I'm gonna hand it back to you guys.
No,
Well,
that's a great segment into the last two things I was going to say about our bad is transportation, especially challenging and more expensive for quads, and more expensive now for the gas and everything else. And especially if you're on, SSDI, it's got to be tough out there. And then, and you brought it up, finding good caregivers is also hard, especially for quads who need more help. And that means when you're aging, you need more help. I mean, I kind of need more help. I took care of myself at night all, forever. And now, I got, my grandson's walking our dog. Um, uh, it's, it's definitely harder when you age because of, you need more stuff. So at night, I need a little bit more assistance than I used to. Renee brought up, sorry to interrupt, just had a question on the topic of blood pressure. Have you heard of a biologist, Gary Brex, who has a interesting perspective and results on the topic? No, no, but love to hear about more. So tell us if you can. Um, yeah, I've heard of that, Roy, about taking that for your bones. My doctor was, yeah, you can take it, but you know, I don't know. Is that the one you take for 6 months and then you have to be off it for 6 months, Roy, or quad trials if you're on it too? Um, Let us know, because there's a couple of them out there that I have. And the last thing I was going to bring up about the somehow my
The
watch,
music.
yeah, how my watch turn on my phone music. I don't know how that happened,
I
but
don't know what he's showing. Can't.
uh, that he's probably getting out of his car.
Well,
Um,
I think he's showing something that he takes. I don't know. We'll have to give him his time in a second. But yeah, hey Bobby, what about we talked briefly before the show started, uh, the sweating.
I was just going to bring that up,
Okay.
and mine has gone up. I now sweat at weird uh, times throughout the day. It's just like I feel it on my shoulder, sometimes the back of my neck. I do a pressure release. Once in a while, that takes it away. Once, most of the time, it doesn't. Um, there's even a lot of times throughout the day I um, unzip my zipper. I never button my pants. Um, just because of my super pubic, I just don't button my pants. We zip it up and then good to go. Even luckily, I still don't. They don't come down when I transfer. But sometimes I'll just unzip it. I empty my bladder more often, thinking that might be it, and then all of a sudden it will just disappear like that. And I don't know if it's just reflexia. My blood pressure isn't up anymore than usual. It's like, no, my blood pressure is fine, but I'm sweating. So I don't know what that's all about, but it was in here, and yeah, it's something that I am going through, and it's been happening now for the last 6 to 8 months.
Hmm.
So, and I think, for anybody who doesn't know, I do have a open wound, a chronic wound from an abscess. And when they did the surgery didn't close. It stayed open. I getting treated. It's getting smaller. The doctor wants me to be in the chair, live your life. It's the cleanest wound he's seen. So it's he goes, yeah, you stayed off it for 6 months and that didn't do anything. And now that you're being active, it's actually we're seeing healthier
Better.
tissue down. So
Getting
that's
better. Yeah.
that's a good thing. But I think, when I used to have the littlest skin issue, like a stage one, I'd be sweating like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think maybe this wound is starting to get a lot of nerve endings. Um, and because it's got good healing. And I think that's part of why I'm starting to sweat a little bit more.
Yeah.
So what do we got here? Car wash. You're going through the express car wash.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's
what
what
he's
you were
doing.
going through. You know what?
I thought he was showing some medication or something.
Yeah, I thought he was going. I thought you were getting pulled over by the police because I just saw red in the background. so, so yeah, that's been happening a little bit more. And Luis, when you talked about caregivers wearing out fast, and I brought up something personal, and I don't mind bringing up, but when I did have that blowout with my colostomy, and it's all over me, and we're trying to take it off, and my wife is just, she started laughing, but it went into a laugh of a cry, because here she is trying to help me clean up, and just 2 days prior, for some reason, I woke up and didn't even feel it. I'm just like, well, all of a sudden I just go, ooh, whoa. And my wife's like, what? And I go, I think my catheter is plugged. I know when it's plugged right away. And I moved my comforter out of the way. And I mean, I was totally soaked. I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
what the heck? So she had to help me clean up that part. And then 2 days later, we have a blowout. So that's where she was laughing and crying at the same time. And it's so
Yeah,
hard on her. And you feel so like sheddy that the shed just
yeah,
happened,
yeah.
no pun intended. But you feel bad for your caregiver, but she's more my wife. She's not my caregiver, but she's going to do it out of love to make the process go better.
That
Yeah.
that brings up a question I have. How do you feel about having a family member as, or your wife or significant other, whatever, as your caregiver? Do you think it's a, or should you just
It,
have a
it
strict?
doesn't help. No, I do have an aide that comes in 3 times a week, but she
Mhm.
does, my wife, will do a lot for, as of the days that she's not here. And so, you know, that part is, really hard on her, and it wears her out. And so, no, it's never a good idea. But then what we talked about, uh, caregiving is very expensive. And to find good caregivers, ones that will show up, ones that are not like totally, what did you say? And I'm like, I tell you this every day. You empty the leg bag for, yeah, you're like, dude, no wonder why you're not even a LVN yet. Uh, you know, I was looking at her before we get into the ugly. We have a couple uglies, and before we get into those, so she's a biologist saying that hypertension is not generated, passed down from your parents, but it is nutrition
Nutrient
deficiency.
deficiency.
Yeah, I can see that. Um, and it's a he. And then quad trials sound sort of similar to what I've been going through over the past year as well, but I don't sweat, just quick hot flashes. I would call these hot flashes too. I haven't experienced that in a good month or two. Okay, good.
What about sleep? Do you get enough sleep?
Yes and no.
Yeah, see, I don't get enough sleep, and I'm
I mean,
tired. I mean, I wake up in the morning feeling okay, even though I didn't get enough sleep that I wanted. So I feel pretty good. But then, a couple hours later, I get into the day and I'm ready for a nap. And so it's just that when I fall asleep at night, I get the first 3 hours, maybe 4 hours if I'm lucky, that I sleep, and then the rest of it I wake up. And I used to do that when I worked, because I worked all those years, and the job I retired from, it was I was getting up at 1:30 in the morning because I started at 4, and so I would get up with the 3, 4 hours, and got myself ready and took off. And I didn't have a chance to be tired the rest of the day because it was hitting the ground running all the time. But now it seems like my body's still hooked on that time frame, because I'm up. If I go to sleep like 9 o'clock, I'm up by 1 o'clock, wide awake too. So I make the mistake of watching TV or getting on the internet on my phone, hoping that would make me a little tired and stuff. So I don't know. I think that's a big problem for me right now, is the sleep. I just, they say how
I was going to add that that's a factor with age as well. With age, whether you're able-bodied or disabled, you require less sleep as you age, and our bodies get used to those hours, like you said, when you were working and slamming those hours for years and years, your body gets accustomed to that. And then when you have less that you're doing in life now because of retirement or disability or whatever it might be, your body doesn't require that same level of sleep. It's myself. I'm just as busy as I've ever been, and like the three of us, we were at the Triumph Adaptive Sports Festival Saturday.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys could tell or not, but the entire day, I mean, from the beginning of the day, I was running on fumes.
Yep.
I was just barely making it that day just because I was exhausted before I even got there because I had a busy week, and it catches up to you. That falls back on the spoon theory.
Yeah. I got. I'm like that too, and um, Bernard, actually Fernandez in our text. Bernard, what's up, buddy? Um, he says there's one drug that helps him and doesn't loses its potency after 3 days, but it's a controlled substance. I wonder. I have one, and it's Xanax that I take, and my doctor gave it to me for anxiety when I was sick, because when I get sick I have a lot of anxiety problems, and I took it and I had the best sleep I ever had. And so now I always ask for it, and I get 30 pills, and it lasts for 90 days. And because when I go, oh, I want a really good night's sleep because it's been a few nights, I will take it. Like, I knew we had this extra hour coming up, which was last weekend of our time change. And I'm like, ooh, good day to take it because I get an extra hour of sleep. Because if I don't, usually, because if we're all together, I'm up early. I wake up at 5 on the dot. And it's just like I wake up and, I can't go back to sleep. And the alarm doesn't go off till 5:50, so I'm usually on Instagram or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's just, so I didn't want to wake up at 4, so I'm like, here, let me see if this will work. And it did. And I woke up at 6, which was the new time, and actually it was 5. I'm like, okay, good. At least I didn't wake up an hour earlier. But that works for me. And then another thing is, I listen to a lot of books on tape now, and I talk about it a lot. Books on tape has been, my, you know, love of going back to sleep, because I have like now 30 books I can re-listen to because I enjoyed them and know what the story is. So I don't get too involved with the story. And so the voices kind of just like helps me go back to sleep within a half an hour.
Yeah. That's I just like I said, there's some things that work for me, the CBD, THC stuff and like that, but I just want to be able to sleep without having to rely on anything. And it just doesn't happen. And my sleep is so inconsistent. And I during the day, because if I don't have anything going on, I'm here pilling around the house or making some errands. I'll come home and I'll take a nap, but then that nap isn't 15, 20 minutes. It could be an hour. All of a sudden I'm out, or watching
Mhm.
TV or something. I doze off. So um, it's yeah, that's a problem for me
Uh,
on my just because it affects your day, how you perform.
yeah. And now that I'm retired, I do once in a while will get out of my chair in the middle of the day, more on the
Yeah,
weekends than anything. But around 2 o'clock, I'm like, let me get out for a couple hours, and that
yeah,
helps a lot. I think
yeah,
Luis wants to say something, so we'll be quiet.
yep,
I was gonna say I'm kind of like Robert, where I I'm not that getting good quality sleep. So I actually use an app that helps me sleep. It monitors my sleep, kind of lets me know when I hit REM sleep, and um,
Hmm.
once in a while, not every day, but once in a while, I'll use some melatonin Um, and there's days when I have problems falling asleep, and then I have other days that I fall asleep in the family room in front of the TV, and I'm there all night long, and I just sleep in the lounge chair, and I wake up hurting, and I can't get up. My neck's crooked, and I'm a wreck. And then I have to go upstairs and get in bed so I can actually relax my body, so I can function later. I'm good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, Robert and I have talked about this. And before I got married, I was a big TV watcher throughout the whole night. Like, wake up, oh, what's that sporting event on? It's like redoing the
Yeah.
baseball game on SportsCenter. I'm like, okay. But I always had to have noise. And I
Yep.
think that's why the books on tape helped me, because now my wife's like, can we turn off the TV? It's annoying. So books on tape for me now is like, a blessing. I just have my little headset in, and I fall asleep. And I know, Robert, you said you're the same. TV all night, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I wake up and it all affects because I have some weird ass dreams too. Because the TV's on some movie that's some thriller or something like that. I'm involved in that in my dream and stuff. But yeah, I kind of always had that. I mean, I could be around the house when I get home, turn on the TV, and I'm not even in the same room as the TV. So it's yeah, it's just I'd like to think that it's just me working things out and just knowing I know the issues, so I just need to work on them and kind of keep that in mind. Because for me, like I say, I want to maintain my independence as long as possible. And 'cause, I mean, my life is good, and I wrote some notes down here. It can be frustrating at times, but keeping that positive attitude gets you through everything. It gives you a lot. So yeah, and hold on a second, Luis. And then because you have to embrace and accept change, because that's what by doing that it's going to make your life easier, and it's not going to be so heavy on you. Uh, if you just accept that change, it's going to have to be done somewhere. And like for me, I could have done it a whole lot longer, long ago, and I didn't. But now things are a lot better because I am in that position now where I accept change. I want to maintain my independence, but change is 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 necessary. Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Luis.
I was just going to bring up what Roy there brought up. Uh, Besides Roy, does anyone else in the audience or you guys use white noise generators? Alexa, listen to the ocean. Alexa, listen to a rainstorm. That
I,
type of thing.
it worked a couple times. I find it more frustrating than anything because it sounds like nature, and I want to get. Okay, let's get up and let's go look at it. I used to
Yeah.
like jungle sounds and streams, and I'm like, all I can picture is like me wanting. Growing up as a kid, with Instagram lately, I find I get all these, and I don't belong to them, but they just keep coming in my feed about, being a kid in the 70s and 80s. Like, back in the day, the water hose was our sports drink. And
Yeah, that's
remember
right.
the pain of our pedals hitting our shin, with our
Yeah.
spike pedals, and things like that. And one said, your mom thought you were just riding your bike around the block, around in the cul-de-sac for 8 hours, but really you went on an adventure,
Yeah.
and we're, 3 miles away exploring an old house, haunted house, and
Yeah.
this and that,
Yeah.
and that's what white noise does to me. I'm like, I want to get out and do that. It reminds me of growing up as a kid, and explore places that we used to get, and now all those places have housing developments. When I've gone back and just recently I looked on Google Earth to see my old neighborhood, I was just like, oh my god, all the fields and forests behind us, they're all gone. So I wanted to bring up one last thing before we get into the ugly, and it was about religion. I'm wondering um, if you guys use any form of religion to help you cope with what you're going through.
Yes. Yes,
Rob,
yes, yes. Yeah, I have a set of time in the morning, to do when since I'm up so early, I have some prayer session, things like that. One day a week, I go to church during the week. Usually on a Monday, I'll get out and go to. I study practice Catholicism, so I go to mass during the week, and yeah, I get I. It makes me feel a lot better. It makes me feel good, and just gives you hope, a little more hope and strength and stuff like that. So I'm a believer. In some form of religion or whatever gets you through that piece, um, to help with your trials and tribulations, man.
yeah, I'm more on that. I have a higher power kind of deal. I don't go to church. I read a lot of from a book. It's about Narnon, and Narnon is a group for parents and family members and husbands and wives that have an addict in their life, and it's every day it has a reading. And my wife and I, will wake up and I'm like, "What's the reading today?" And it's often times of, you know, yeah, it's about your addict, but in my head, I bring up my addict is my spinal cord injury, and it really helps me a lot. There you go, Luis. Talk about your skin problems.
Burning one. He's burning one.
Burning one. So, I believe that religion is important for those that rely on it, and it's a good form. Louis said he shook his head. He doesn't. I do the higher power. I know at the end of the day, if I'm going up and saying, I get a good job from the big man upstairs or not, I don't know. Um, but I I live by thou shalt not, hurt anyone, kill anyone, sin, and things like that. And be a good person, be a good neighbor. You know, that's kind of always been what I've done with me and my faith.
Yeah, yeah. You just want to be a good person, man, and just that helps. You know, I mean, good people don't mind having good people around them. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
And we got one from Quad is 100% faith is important to me. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's definitely can help us get through what we're going through at times, because we're gonna start wrapping up, but let's talk about the ugly. And there's just a couple uglies, because a lot of the bads are right there, but and I think we talked about these, but
yeah. Kind of
you know
cross,
number
kind of
one
cross.
is shoulders,
Yeah,
and shoulder problems and change, um, and the changes um, they entail switching to power chair and van and needing to hire care, aide or a nurse. So yeah, I mean, our bodies and our arms were not meant to be our legs, right? And our legs were supposed to be the strongest part of our body to help us move. Now we got these smaller body parts, which is our shoulders, and they wear out. And I'm a C5-6 quad, and I pushed my wheelchair my whole life without any assistance. And Bob, you've para walking at times, and now have rotator cuff pulls and
yeah.
tears, and
Just
it becomes
just
a big
not taking
problem.
care of them. I just didn't take care of them.
Mhm. And so that's a hard switch. Robert, you had the sweetest truck, you know,
Yeah, I
that was your
missed it.
baby, you know. But recently, you had to move to a van. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the van is. I'm just really getting into it now. Where we make accepting it and stuff. Because at first, it was a minivan. Just like, but with the lift, once I got into it and seeing the ease, because then I was worried about trying to transfer how, because my shoulders are so bad that my transfers aren't that good. But anyway, so yeah, so it's all kind of working out, falling in place now. And again, it's the truck. I really do miss the truck and all that, but I'm into the van now because it's like so making my life so much easier. I'm able to go a little bit further, do more during the day if I need to, rather than being too worried about tweaking my shoulders getting in and out of my truck. It was just, and I would when I would do that, and if I do 2 or 3 transfers out of there a day, I was done for the next 2 days because I had to give them a rest, my shoulders. So
Yeah.
ease. It's all about that making things easier for me now as I age.
And just recently I went to now I'm getting feedback. Just recently I went to a power assist for my chairs. And Shawn, if you want to throw that up, but I just recently purchased this awesome little scooter attachment to the front, and it's called Scout or Companion, and it's
Yeah, that's cool.
for quads. It's a little bit harder to attach to my chair, but as you can see, we're just moving down, rolling with the homies, and Sean's going to take that down. But you want to replay that video again, Shawn? Um, that's us just moving right along. And that thing is quick. It was
Yeah.
so much fun being out there last Saturday with you guys. I wanted to do a lot of the sports, but because I was cruising around this big place that we were at, I was talking to everybody, and then I would run over here, run over there, and it's been a big life changer. And when I
Yeah.
talk about my colostomy bag, I wish that was out sooner. So
Yeah.
you know, it's I shouldn't have fought it so much, but also, with technologies, these things are coming out, and just recently, I've been doing a lot of hand cycling that's electric, and now with electric e-bikes, man, it's just like so easy that
Yeah.
I love doing. So
And
that
that's
helps.
pretty, and that goes pretty fast too. That's
Yeah,
got some speed to it.
yeah, it does, and it has a lot of speed. And but I'm also old school, and it's like, uh, I wish I still had the strength that I did to push my chair everywhere. I
Yeah.
wish I had the strength to use a regular hand cycle, but I don't, and that's okay. But the shoulder problems are real, and
Yeah.
not only within their shoulder problems, but some of us quads have spinal stenosis. So I have this arm, and especially when we're on this screen, if you guys probably have seen it over time, I'll be like doing this, moving my arm back and forth. It's because his arm goes dead. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't know what it is. And I went to a spinal specialist, and he said, yeah, it's spinal stenosis. Let me get in there and I'll clean it up. I was like, I'm not opening up my neck right now.
Yeah,
No.
that's right, man. Forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it. That's me. I could have had surgeries and all that stuff, but I don't recover like I used to, and I don't want to be laid up that long, and I don't want to end up in a nursing home for a little while till this and that.
Yeah.
So for me though, I know you use the Scout and all that. For me, I use the Smart Drive, and for me that kind of fills my needs that I need because I can keep it attached and still transfer and all that. And but yeah, the power. I'm just glad the technology is out there for what we have choices of because there's a lot
Mhm.
going on out there, and I'm looking forward to the expo coming up in March just to see what else is in a year what's changed.
Yeah. And Mr. Trials and Theories, go to your dealer and ask them if they can turn up the speed in your power chair. They have that capability, or I should say, most have that in the capability of the power chairs. So maybe that will help. But let's just talk about our last and but not least for the ugly, ugly um, uh, pain.
Yeah,
It seems to be almost universal. It often seems to get worse either because meds are less effective or side effects become more difficult to tolerate.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
I say it's both, but I'm going to put it as side effects. My
yeah,
hips are always in pain. My phantom pain or the burning sensation of my legs. I used to always say I feel like an elephant was sitting on me, on my lap for about the last 5 hours. And now it feels like King Kong is sitting on my lap.
Yeah.
It's just like, are you kidding? And sometimes I think that's where my hot flashes come from. And so I'm now to, a narco once a day. And that does help, but
Yeah, I deal. I have the pain. I just kind of deal with it. Um, I really can't take a lot because I have, got to take care of my kidneys and things like that. Because I do take a lot of meds in terms of for some of the other ailments. But yeah, the pain is just like it's been around forever. And when you do take some of these meds, it's just like the side effects. I don't know if it's worth it. The side effects half the time.
yeah. And it's a balance issue. It's, you know, the more you do, sometimes the more the pain. But we tell you to move so you don't think about the pain. you know,
Yeah, yeah,
it's this weird thing. And and then there's the pain meds, but you worry about taking that. And then some people use, the other alternatives, the cannabis part or something else or drinking that, I do, a good whiskey will take away any pain. I'll tell you that.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but
Single malt,
I've
single
noticed,
malt.
yeah, I, can you read his lips? Go ahead and get on for a second. Luis, unmute yourself for a second.
Tacos.
Tacos.
Tacos fix everything.
So you eat the tacos for your pain. I can see that. Um, Being only 4 years injured right now, I think it's only nerve pain for me. Yeah, and at 30 years, it's changed for me. My first 20 years, I had zero pain, nothing, and then now it's just increased over years um, to the point that it's gotten, you know, Paul, welcome, Paul. Glad you can join us. The pain is real. It's one of the biggest things I noticed from being in a chair for so many years. Yeah, you old fart. So,
And
yeah,
Renee, tacos and tequila. Yeah.
tequila. I'll do a little bit. Yeah, there you go, Luis. I'll do a little bit, but it's more whiskey for me.
Yeah.
The tequila is that can be an enemy more than a more than a friend. So I know we have to wrap up and we've gone way over, but hopefully you learned us something. New Mobility, if you go to their website, New Mobility Magazine, hit the search button, aging with a disability, you can find this article. And it's a great
Yeah, it's a
article.
good
It has
article.
more detail than what we talked about. We were just talking about the good and the bad and the ugly. But it's called Aging with SCI, Good News, Bad News. So for those who want to look it up, um, we have a couple things to tell you. Costco, your hot dogs at Costco, is that what you're talking about? Or is that where you're at? Oh, that's where you're at. Yeah. But we got a couple things to wrap up with. Our sponsors. Robert, you want to tell us about our sponsors?
Sure. We want to put a big thanks to our sponsors, Mobility Professionals and Urology Professionals. Mobility Professionals, they're in our community. They attend all our events and things like that. They'll satisfy all your wheelchair and rehab needs, equipment. They're a local company in Orange County. So if you need to get any equipment, you want to check them out. They service our Southern California area. Their sister company, Urology Professionals, will take care of all your urological needs. And again, they know what's going on. They understand the community. They're involved with the community. They're part of the community. And so, mobility professionals and urology professionals, check them out.
Yeah. Real quick in the chat, uh, Tony, he's fly from Hawaii. Aloha. The pain is an interesting thing. Nothing there for the first 25 years. Really, no way to know what the aging process will be. Never been here before. Welcome, Tony. Each day is new. Good for you. Black Olive. Sometimes I want to stand up. Laughing hard helps me with the pain. Um, Louis says hi. And let's see here. Paul, 39 years in, a nice beverage is delicious, spice rum. And I have a full bottle of spice rum because of my good friend Paul. Um, from Roy, the more I think, hi, Shawn.
Hey,
the more the
jump,
more I
jumped
think
in
of the
there.
pain, the more shit is real. Oh, it's real. Um, Bernard, we ain't supposed to be sitting. So if anyone needs pain meds, it's us. So true. And then let's see, Renee, give us freestanding frames, government. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to get going. We're live to roll, rolling over the hill. Um, we have something special for those, and I know you're in the neighborhood, uh, Bernard, that you can come down to Orange County. We have a Friendsgiving going on. Friendsgiving is next Saturday, the 18th, L2. Oh, Luis is in L2. Next Saturday, we have our Friendsgiving. I'll let you say one last word. So, next Saturday, 2 p.m., you can get our tickets at our Shopify. So, look up our website on the description below and purchase a ticket. They're $50. We have, if you're bringing a dish, you can also save $5. And if you're bringing a friend or a caregiver, $10. And if you have any questions, email Shawn at Live to Roll. Luis, you can say the last words before we hit the road.
Okay, you guys ready? Live to roll.
Ah,